Hello and welcome back to the Welsh Premiership podcast and our weekly review preview show sponsored by Lecker Food Co. Um, Today we'll be looking back at the last round of games last weekend, and with the break in proceedings this weekend, we won't be looking forward to the next round of games because we'll talk about those on next week's show. As you may notice, we're without Adam today, so it's just me and Tobias, but we'll get stuck straight into last week's games then. And in the Eastern Conference, the first game, Ebervale hosted Merthyr in the Battle of the Metals, as it was being called by the two clubs. Obviously, the Iron Men and the Steel Men facing off against each other. And Dale McIntosh's men were coming down to the Cineglass Community Stadium looking to avenge their defeat in the first round of the Welsh Premiership Cup. And they did. They came away 20-16 winners. Sort of similar story to the last couple of games for Ebervale. They just got quite a few youngsters in there that they're blood in, and I think Merthyr's experience really told. They were on the back foot for a lot of the game, but obviously only losing by 4 points. It was a close game, and I think Greg Woods overall will be happy despite them losing that game. In terms of standout players, David Stonelake was phenomenal in the back row for them. Merthyr's back rows have been great all season, really. We've seen the likes of Jack Perkins, Paddy McBride already. Elsewhere, Aaron Pincher's coming back into the centre. His first game of the season was fantastic, and he managed to make our team of the week as well. So, Tobias, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, it's Merthyr carrying on, I think, from where they left off the last few weeks. We know they had a few results where they left the win out there, but fair play, the last few weeks they've hit back. That's a good win from. But then again, Ebu, they give them good games. Ebu have been on a little bit of a poor run, and maybe they thought this weekend was the time where they'd avenge that. But no, it was a good game. But a fair play to Merthyr. They're on a bit of a roll now, so it was a good win for them.
Yeah, and I know we mention this every week, but Ebervale's youngsters sort of did step up to the challenge again. Young Joe Westwood, second week in a row, had a lot of people talking about him at fullback, doing great things at the back. Ben Mower, Joe Peard in the pack as well. So it's not all doom and gloom for Ebu, and I'm sure they'll be hoping to get back on a winning track again after this weekend's break. Moving on then, and Newport hosted Pontypridd at Newport Stadium. Pontypridd come into the game, the only team to beat Newport so far this season. Tobias, what did you make of that one?
Yeah, it was another good game. I think Newport carried on from where they left off in the last few weeks. But credit Ponty as well. They gave him another good game. I know Newport were up half-time, 14 points to 6, thanks to 2 tries from our player of the week in scrum half, Luke Crane. Yeah, fair play. Ponty hit back early second half. I know they brought it to within 1 score when Dale Stuckey scored his 6th try in 6 games from as well. But no, Newport, they've been strong up front, and their back line is very strong backline as well. And another shout out to Josh Skinner, scored the last try for Newport. I think I've lost count how many times he's been in the team of the week. Fair play to him. But yeah, another outstanding performance, I know, and a try to top it off.
Yeah, it was quite similar to the Ebervale Merthyr game in some respects. Very close game, but you could just tell sort of the whole way through the game that Newport were going to win the game despite Ponty's best efforts. Yeah, really good for Newport, stay top of that East Conference. And I think if you'd have to put money on anyone in the East Conference right now, I think you'd have to say Newport are looking like the favourites to make that final, aren't they?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Moving on then to the last game in the East Conference, and Cardiff made the trip up to Parc Arias to play RGC, and they managed to come away with a victory. But like we've seen with all the teams going up to RGC, it was a real hard game, and Cardiff really had to work for the victory because RGC were really on top form and they made them work so hard, and it wasn't convincing by any means for Cardiff. Obviously they had some really good Cardiff players dropping down into the team, like Ben Murphy scored a really important try. Beetham as well at fullback that I know we've been really impressed with. Kicked a really important penalty from long distance. I think that was just the difference in the end, really. RGC another try from another winger, Kieran Dixon this time. Seems to be they're bringing in different wingers all the time, and I think all of them are equally as talented at finding the line. Dion Jones playing outside half, his second game outside half. Obviously, he was a fullback start of the season, but Evan Lloyd's been out injured, so Dion Jones has moved to 10, and he looks quite comfortable there, to be fair. So I think that's a real positive for RGC. But I think RGC will be disappointed again. Another good performance against the top side and taking them all away, but it is another defeat. So it depends which way you look at it, really. I think in reality, the chance of winning the Premiership Cup's gone now for RGC. So I think they'll just be focused on building now for the Premiership.
Yeah, but what they will be happy with is the way they've grown. Like you said, look at the first game of the season when they played Cardiff and conceded 60-odd points to where they come now, losing 15 points to 8. It was a tight game throughout. And like we said, they're not going to win the Premiership Cup now. But it's a good building block ready for when the Premiership does start, because they've had that tough period. Obviously, new coach, a lot of new players, youngsters coming in, but they're gelling now as a side, and they're starting to look like a good team.
And we mentioned Merthyr's back row earlier, so it's only fair to mention RGC's back row as well. Dan Owens, great again, and Sam Williams made the team of the week. So that's another positive for them, really. We know RGC has spent a lot of their Premiership Cup games on the back foot, but they've done really well. The back row has just saved them on so many times. The likes of Dan Owen and Sam Williams just getting in there on their own line, winning the ball back. Very similar to Merthyr, to be fair. And I think without the quality of back rowers that RGC have, I think we could have seen some bigger scores in some of the games they played in. Moving on then to the Western Conference, and Tobias, I'll leave this one completely up to you, because obviously you went to the game, Bridgend travelling to Carmarthen to play Carmarthen Quins. How did that one go, and what were your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it was a pretty tight encounter again, like a lot of them were this week. But you could tell, I think Carmarthen, were in control majority of the game. Bridgend led at half time, actually, 9 points to 7. They did have a lot of defending to do. I know they're on their own line a few times, and a few important turnovers up front, made sure they went in half time ahead. But yeah, with just 10 minutes left, I think it was only one score in it, 17-12 to Carmarthen. But then Jack Wilson, I think, slotted a penalty, and Quinn scored late on then to finish the game. I think Quins were very strong up front. I was impressed with Kemsley Mathias, especially in the scrums. Hayden Pugh around the park, outstanding, man. The driving more, Bridgend just couldn't cope with it. I think there was one line out with Quins had just in front of halfway, and it drove up into the 22, and I think they got a penalty from it, went again and scored right at the end. So fair play, they looked strong up front. But Bridgend, they lost Jamie Murphy just 15 minutes in. The only specialist 10 really, but fair play, Paul Short stepped in at 10 and had solid performance. But yeah, it's disappointing for Bridgend in a way, because I think they were just dominated up front and they want to improve on that. But there was still some good things coming from it. I thought Owen Howe was excellent at fullback, slotting some penalties from miles away really. Like Paul Short stepping in. I thought Chris Williams had a decent game as well in mine. So there'll be some positives, but no, Quins look very good.
And do you know what happened to Jamie Murphy, and sort of if he'll be back for the next round of games?
I haven't heard anything about how long he's out for. I just know he limped off, but he walked off in the end, so hopefully he's not too bad. But yeah, I think he maybe might be out for a couple of weeks, so we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yeah, moving on to the second game in the Western Conference then, and a tight finish at the end in the Llanelli v Aberavon game, but I think at half time you would have thought it'd be anything but. Aberavon went into sheds 28-5 up, and then scored straight after the restart as well with Lloyd Evans, another player that made our team of the week, who was fantastic all across the park. So yeah, there was 28-5 up, and you just had this feeling that it was only going one way, and sort of Aberavon were on for a big win. At that point, you had so many Aberavon standout players, but Dan Edwards at number 10 made our team of the week. I think he's only 18 years of age. For him to step in, I know he's played the last few weeks, keeping Alan Thomas out the side. So I think he was brilliant, scored a try of his own, converted all the tries as well. So at that point, yeah, you're just thinking, oh, Aberavon are going to run away with it here. And yeah, you'd be forgiven for thinking that, the way the game was going, the way Llanelli have performed over the first half of this Premiership Cup. But fair play to Llanelli. From then on, the running of the game, it was all Llanelli. And yeah, they scored some tries that not classics, but they did the job, and they physically imposed themselves on Aberavon. I think Aberavon got a little bit complacent, which is obviously Jason Hyatt won't be too happy about, but it did. Llanelli did expose a few weaknesses in the Aberavon defence, and I think holding on to the win is the most important thing for Jason Hyatt, and being tested in defence like they were, they'll learn a lot from that, and probably learn a lot more than they would have had they just kept going and kept scoring. So I think it's, Jason Hyatt, although he will be disappointed that they allowed Llanelli to come back into that game, they definitely would have learned a lot, because Llanelli looked like a side that we haven't seen. Like, they played some rugby that we sort of haven't seen them play so far this season, and yeah, they got so much confidence. They were dominant, and yeah, it was good to see, really. A few tries from Alex Jeffries, Reece Cherry as well, a hooker. So yeah, good to see from Llanelli. Another loss for them, and sort of similar to RGC, they won't win the Premiership Cup now. So it's all about building for them. Really young squad. All about building for the Premiership season now.
Yeah, and the first half performance from Aberavon is what we come to expect from them now. That's the standards they've got, especially this season. But you said Hyatt would be disappointing, and I think he will be, because when you're winning by that much, 20 points to 5, if they want to go on to win things, they've got to be dominant throughout. And no disrespect to Llanelli, but they let Llanelli come back into the game, which they obviously didn't want to. But you got to give credit to them as well. Llanelli, young side, coming back like that from being so far down, it was a good experience for them.
And moving on to the last game last weekend then, and Llandovery, big winners against Swansea at St Helens, coming away 45-17 winners. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't think the score reflected maybe the first 50, 60 minutes of the game. I think, Llandovery, again, I think they were always in control. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they scored 3 tries in the last 15, 20 minutes, which, sealed the 40-odd points. But the Llandovery backline looked very good. Scott Maynard and mine, very sharp. The 2 winners, Callum Williams, I think, scored 1, and Ashley Evans scored a couple as well. Some good finishes in there. Then it's a good experience for Swansea. I know they had a couple of Ospreys youngsters in. Young High Deves, McClank come in, won Swansea's man of the match. So it was a good experience for him coming through, playing Premiership. I think it's his first Premiership game as well.
Yeah.
To come through like that and be rewarded with the man of the match award. But yeah, it's a good win for Llandovery. They're still up and around second, third place, I know, in the Western Conference, and they still qualify for the semi-final spot. So yeah, overall, I think a very good win for them.
Yeah, and obviously Aros will be so happy with how his team's responded. Obviously, they had that loss to Bridgend. Was that 3 weeks ago now? Last week, big win against Aberavon, and then this week back that up with a big win against Swansea as well. So Aros will be delighted with how his team's responded to that sort of blip, won't he?
Yeah, I think the reaction his players have given him from that disappointing loss is shown what that team is capable of and what they're made of, really, because beating Aberavon last week, that was massive for them. But then to back that up again with another good performance here against the Swansea side, who've been playing pretty good recently as well, it's massive for them.
All right, so that's a wrap then for this episode. Before we finish, just wanted to say a big well done to all the Premiership players that were involved in Crawshay's victory over Vardra the other night. Vardra celebrating their centenary, so congratulations to them as well. Yeah, we just love everything it's about, really, don't we? Like, all the teams coming together and playing those types of games. Another thank you as well to our sponsors, Lekker Food Co., who were sponsoring these weekly review shows. And yeah, that's it. We'll be back next Friday for another weekly preview show where we'll be previewing next week's round of games, as there's no games this weekend. And we'll be back next Wednesday with a guest podcast as well. So keep updated on our social media at Welsh Prem Pod, and we'll see you next week.